We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
This is probably the worst way to start off any video that you want somebody to actually watch, because it's the source of nightmares for anybody who was in middle school and high school. Even if you ended up going into science, this was not the fun part of science. We're only interested in this one, and this one over here. And actually, we're most interested in the letter C, which stands for carbon, because we're going to be talking about the abundance of carbon, the role that it plays in our daily lives. The number one H is hydrogen. That one's important because that's how stars are started. Stars are born, not movie stars, but real celestial stars. Helium is the second most abundant element in the universe. And then there's carbon, followed by oxygen. So we're going to be spending a lot of our time talking about carbon. You know, when I was in grade 3 and grade 4, there's like only 3 things that I remember knowing about the planet Earth. Now I think kids are very lucky, just in the sense that they know so many more things, which allows them to paint a better picture of how beautiful and complex the Earth actually is. The things that I remember way back then are: 1, the Earth is round. It's a sphere. Sorry, flat earthers, but it's a sphere. And 2, it's the bronze medalist, right? It's in 3rd place. It's the 3rd rock from the sun. And 3, there's about 4 billion people on the Earth at around that time. Now I think it's closer to 8. Some of the things that I didn't appreciate back then, but I certainly lived it, being in a place where the population density was quite low. There was vast wilderness all around. The idea that everything that we have right now is all that we're ever going to have. So the water that we have, that's all that we're going to have. The rocks and minerals and supplies, if you want to call them that, all the ingredients of life that we have is all we've ever had. And it's all that we're ever going to have. Nothing comes and nothing goes. Well, I guess that's not true. There is one thing that comes and goes, and that's light. So we get light and energy and radiation from the sun, and then some of that's reflected back into space. All these characteristics that the Earth has, I didn't really appreciate that until I got a little older. Its ability to recycle and function as an independent system gives it this really cool name, biosphere. And if you were to ask somebody who maybe knew a little bit about words why that's a really good name, they would be able to pick out the word sphere. And it's because it's pretty much the shape of the Earth. Living sphere. And I've added the 1 here, even though it's the only one that we're aware of. There is a biosphere too. To get there, what you would need to do is to get on a plane and fly down to somewhere in Arizona. And then what you'd want to do is get into your car and drive maybe an hour or 2 into the desert until you see a building like this. And this is only one of the many buildings that are there. Tried to do is that they wanted to recreate all of the systems that we have on Earth, all the ecosystems on Earth, and see if they could do it indoors, see if they could replicate what the Earth does so naturally and beautifully and wonderfully indoors. So they chose 8 people, and there's a little bit of controversy about who they chose, but the idea was that they would set up all those systems on the inside. So they had oceans on the inside, and they had like a rainforest on the inside, and they had a desert on the inside. So all the major ecosystems that we have here on Earth, they try to recreate there. The goal was for them to last 2 years or 3 years without having to come outside. It did not last. There was a lot of things that they didn't take into consideration, and I think that they had a few issues maintaining the gas levels. For example, the oxygen levels kept dropping and the carbon dioxide levels kept rising. And if I remember correctly, one of the issues was that they didn't take into consideration the microbes in the soil. There's a huge checklist of all the things that could have gone wrong in Biosphere 2, but we're going to focus on the oxygen and the carbon dioxide levels, which brings us back to this guy here, carbon. If the Earth only had 100 carbon atoms, it would be distributed between the atmosphere, geosphere, biosphere, and the hydrosphere. More than 99 of those carbon atoms would be found in the geosphere. That would be in sedimentary rocks and limestone, organic carbon, hydrocarbons such as fossil fuels, and marine sediment. The rest of it, that 1%, is going to be the air that we breathe. It's going to be found in living plant and animal matter, and it's going to be found in the oceans. That balance needs to remain for things to exist the way they have been. More of the carbon that's stored in the geosphere, if that's released into the atmosphere, then that balance begins to shift. And that's when we begin to see a shift in our climate. Isn't to say that carbon dioxide is evil. We need carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Many organisms rely on it. We rely on it. The Earth has natural processes through volcanic activity and decomposition of plants and animals. Forest fires, those naturally release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Living plants and the ocean act as a carbon sink in which they reabsorb that carbon dioxide. That balance is crucial. When human beings start to use resources, fossil fuels, and the burning of forests to make room for livestock, that accelerates the transfer of carbon, which is in the geosphere, to the atmosphere. With the reduction of plants, it becomes more difficult for us to recapture that carbon at a much needed rate.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.